All right, welcome back to the Fresh Rental, where we sit down with people shaping the future of events and rental. Today's guest has done it at every level: operations, sales, scaling teams, and driving revenue across some of the most demanding markets in the country.
So Russ is currently Chief Revenue Officer at Quest Events out of Las Vegas, one of the most competitive event markets on the planet. Welcome, Russ.
Thank you. Well, happy to be here.
And nice to meet you, Russ. Your path has taken you through trade show production, solar, hospitality, events, tons of ground. I guess the first question I have to ask is, where did it all start?
So, much like a lot of people who ended up in events in general, kind of a circuitous route to get here. I often say that people end up in this industry kind of the same way you end up at Denny's 2 o'clock in the morning on a Friday. It's you didn't intend to be there, but you went out drinking and you showed up, and now you're part of it. This is one of those few industries where it's really hard to describe to your parents unless they have some frame of reference what you do for a living. So I've got a really varied background, whether and part of in as far as starting in the rental world, I started out as a mobile DJ. I was a disc jockey on the radio,
Wow.
worked worked for a record company, and then ended up doing mobile disc jockeying and started doing lighting and rentals in the AV space and stopped out of that for a little while. Ended up working at Kinko's of all places for a while, and then and that actually led me right back into the industry. And so at some point around 2020, 2020, 2002, roundabout, I ended up where I was running the AV department at the Las Vegas Convention Center, and for a company called Encore Productions at the time, which is a different company nowadays. But uh, I started out, broke my teeth in the trade show space with CES being one of the first shows I ever did, the largest trade show in the country. And so it was, really large scale, really insane levels of organization and stuff. And it's an interesting place to start because you lose perspective on what a normal trade show would be, or what a lot of these smaller companies do, and all of a sudden you're walking into this massive show with, rentals coming out your ears. So it was an interesting way to get where I am now, and kind of made it through, the progressions from that point on.
I want to talk a little about those progressions because I think that story is awesome. How you started also as a DJ. Actually, Ralph has a lot to do with the music scene. So that's
Before we go,
awesome.
I need to ask about the DJ thing before we go any further. So you used to get the promo only CDs?
I lived on promo only CDs. So while I worked at an old record store chain called The Warehouse, which was a West Coast record chain, and I ended up in marketing and promotions for Northern California, Oregon, and Washington. So I got every promo known to man because I was buying
LA.
advertising, I was setting up in stores, all that other stuff. So it was promos galore. So that was really, it was an easier place to start DJing from.
That's awesome. Oh wait.
So I was in that before any of this too. So I love it.
And going back to rentals a little, I was there any moment in your career when you were like drawn to the operations and revenue side of things? Like, was there anything specific that were like, yeah, I want to be here, and that led you to be like the CRO of a big company?
So I've started managing people when I was 16. And so it's like I've always managed people in one way or
That's,
another.
I just wanted to ask. My dad was a DJ for 40 years, and I used to help him.
Oh, that audio, we're gonna cut this part off, but that audio is way too delayed.
Yeah, that came out crazy. Okay, so let me go back to that then. Um, so I started managing people when I was 16, and you learn a lot when you're that young managing people. And so it took a little while where I went through retail. I started in fast food managing people, went into retail, and just kept going through. And somewhere in there, the finally figured out that the operational side of the world just made sense to my brain. And when I really got deeply into it is actually when I started running the AV for the Las Vegas Convention Center. The people who were running the operational side of the business for me at the time, for some reason, they thought the ability to get things done quickly and on a normal basis was, how do I put this? It was fine to eat a lot of overtime. And as the person running the business, I don't want to be somewhere 3 o'clock in the morning setting up if I don't have to be. And so at one point, I finally said, okay, guys, here's the deal. Let's go back. Let's figure out how we can do this in an 8 hour period, 10 hours if things go sideways, and really just get it done properly. Stop beating up our people. And so I rearranged how we worked the business. And we were able to get stuff done in that 8 hour period and have very happy customers in the process. And so being able to get that turned around and being able to actually successfully do that really turned me on to the operational part of the business, and started getting me to look at things like Six Sigma and looking at Kanbans and all these different operational tools in order to smooth out the life. And that became extremely important to me. And so I always became deep into operations and started, building structures for companies and how we're going to organize the process and how we're going to create SOP and all of those lovely, fun things that a lot of people really, really hate.
So you're like the living example of work smarter, not harder, right? Or what do you think about that?
100%. I mean, you know, I don't think I'm a lazy person. I'm a really, really hard worker. But if there's an easier way to do it, I am gonna find it.
Nice.
I just if I can make it easier on myself and everybody around me, we're winning.
Awesome. Awesome. Glad to hear that. And I want to, I mean, I kind of stalked you a little bit, and I saw your whole experience and story. So you've been an owner, director, a VP, a CEO, like you've had a ton of experience. You've seen the business from a lot of seats, lots of angles. You've done a lot of things. What's the version of Ross that showed up on day one versus who you are now running this type of business?
Well, it depends on how far you want to go back to day one. And as I said, I started managing people when I was 16 and a half. So I'm a shift supervisor at Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
And I may have been a slightly cocky young man who thought he knew everything and made sure everybody around me knew that I thought I knew everything. And when I left that position, they threw a going away party for me. They didn't invite me to that party. They were just happy I was gone. And so over time, I started to learn some of those really painful lessons that a lot of managers take a long time to learn. And so Russ today versus Russ starting is really someone who finally figured out that the most important part of any organization is the people. And the people you people look for loyalty for the wrong reasons, a lot of times as bosses or employers or whatever. It's, hey, I'm giving you your paycheck, you should be loyal to me. Da, da, da. No, you can make money anywhere. Are you believed in as an employee? Are we looking out for your best interest? Are we trying to be fair to you in everything that we do? Um, and so it took a while for me to really understand that part of it. And there were painful lessons along the way. I screwed it up a bunch. And part of that became my outlook on the world to everybody I work with is, hey guys, we are going to mess up. And frankly, that's okay. And I hope we do in some ways, because we're going to learn from every time we screw up, and we're going to make it better. We're going to improve the process. We're going to improve how we treat each other. We're going to argue and we're going to disagree at times, but we're going to do that in a humane, civil way. And on the end of it, we're all going to be a better place for it. And so that's not something you understand as an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old or even really necessarily a 30-year-old when you're managing a bunch of people and you have the expectations of profitability and efficiency and customer service and all these other things, you look at all of those things as these burdens that you just need to push your people to do better, and we can get there, instead of making it a place where your people naturally want to make it profitable, make their customer happy, enjoy what they're doing, and take care of each other. So that's, from day one to now, that's really big differences.
That's what I was saying was, profitability, teaching treating your employees. These are things across a lot of industries that lessons you can learn. But the event rental business, I guess, is a different animal. What's the lesson you take away from this industry that no other industry could teach you?
Not
Did
quite
you
sure
get
I
that,
got all
Russ?
that. I'm not quite
No,
sure I got
it's.
all of that.
I think the final question was like from all of this, like the event world being kind of crazy. Like, what did the event and rental world teach you that no other industry could?
Still delayed.
So the tricky thing about event rentals, especially the side of it that I'm on with trade show and the like, and heavy in the AV space, is it's a one-shot deal. You know, normally in a business where you're supplying something, you have the ability to recover from failure. And you really don't get that. When you look at a trade show, the entirety of the trade show happens over a 16-hour period most of the time, maybe a 20-hour period for a long trade show. And if you're not able to come to from the start, every hour you lose in that trade show has immense value to the customer. And so really for me and for the groups I've been working with is we know how much we've got to plan and how much we have to be right from the start. Uh, we just finished a huge job for the big game. I don't want to go through copyright infringement, so I won't tell you what that big game was,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
that really big game that happened maybe in San Francisco this year or Santa Clara.
Okay.
So we set an absolute ton of product on that show. And you have a short period of time to do that. And when they come out with that saying, the show must go on, that saying exists for a reason, and it's going to happen whether you're ready or not. And if you're not, your customer is never going to come back to you again. And so it's having the right thing at the right place, the right people at the right place at the right time, and making sure you're creating enough value for the customer that they can depend on you, and you're 100% going to be there, and it's going to be right. I mean, for me, that's the main thing that this industry is taught. I don't have the option to get half right. I can't be a weather forecaster and be wrong half the time and still get paid.
Yeah.
So it really is more about, be right, get it right every time, and perform for the customer. And when you do that, your customer loyalty is absolutely through the roof.
Quest Events is operating out of Las Vegas, right?
Right. And we have 22
Awesome.
locations across the country.
But you're based out of Las Vegas, if I'm not
My
mistaken.
office, yeah, I'm out of Las Vegas, right?
Gotcha. Gotcha. But I mean, just the event rental world per se, it's a different animal, and that's a huge market, Las Vegas, if I'm not wrong. What does it actually take to compete there?
You know, Honestly, it takes the same thing it takes to compete anywhere else. It's all about scalability. That's probably the one thing that I apply the most often to organizationally on how we build stuff is the scalability. You've got to be able to really be able to ramp it up because of the size of the shows. But it's no different than anywhere else, yet the actual way you do business in a place like Las Vegas, and in some ways is similar to like a New York. You
Hmm.
don't walk into any town and try to prove to the town how the business should operate. Towns
So you
operate
kind
how
of
they want to operate. I can't walk into Miami where you are and say, this is how we do business in Vegas, this is how you should do business.
different thing.
Absolute wrong approach. And I
Hmm.
can't tell you the number of companies I've seen walk into Vegas saying, we're very successful in Chicago. We're going to show you how to do it. We're going to take over the world. We'll show Las Vegas how this is done. 3 years later, they're out of the business because they just weren't able to keep going because they never learned the lesson that they should have. You the golden rule. A lot of people always refer to the golden rules: treat others how you want to be treated. Well, really, that's not necessarily the golden rule. It's more about treating people how they want to be treated. And if you treat
Exactly.
people how they want to be treated, you're going to get anywhere in the world with them. And so the assumption that you know what somebody else wants or desires is really generally a wrong assumption.
Hmm.
Find out what your customer wants, ask the questions, make sure you're able to give them what their expectation is. And if their expectation is completely unreasonable, then you work with that customer to manage the expectations.
Yeah.
But
And
you don't assume you know what they need.
that's awesome that you're mentioning it because in a whole different industry, which is mine, which is software, well, specifically for rental companies, we had some sort of an issue with assumptions because we were big in Latin America. We're originally from
Mm-hmm.
Colombia. We
Yep.
now have an American team. We're US based. We just operate in the US, but we used to have a big operation down there in Latin America. We still have it, about like 30 something, 40 locations plus. And we just got to Miami. We're like, okay, this is just going to be the same sales processes, same operations. We can do it with the same employees. Punch to the face, reality punch to the face. It's not going to happen, man. And we hit ourselves against the wall. We kept banging our heads against the wall for a while
Yep.
until we understood like American way, different way. And even
Mm-hmm.
like Florida way is different way from California, from Texas, from North Carolina. We now have some customers in those states, but I mean, almost like you have to hire someone that understands the culture down there. Like the way of doing business. It's a crazy world.
It was one of the most. So I was in Barcelona last week at ISE, and it was really interesting because I was talking to a gentleman who has a very, very successful U.S. business, but
Mhm.
he's from the Netherlands. And I asked him, I said, hey, so tell me about your impression of what's going on in the States right now with the political pressures and tariffs and all of these other things. And just tell me about the business. And one of the things that came from that discussion is he said the thing he underestimated the most was the difference in culture and the difference in culture from different parts of the states, not to mention just the US alone. And so it really begs that, hey, understand the people you're dealing with. Don't assume that just because some guy in California is one way, the guy in Tennessee is going to be the same way, because that's two different worlds, especially with how large this country is. And try and figure out what makes people tick.
Yep, definitely. I agree with that. Now that we're talking about culture, people hiring, uh, and you also talked about scaling. You've scaled sales teams, or operations departments across a lot of different companies, right?
Mhm.
What would you say it's the main difference between a team that can actually execute under pressure versus one that just looks good on paper and doesn't really deliver?
So I have a belief that almost anybody can handle and work well under pressure if they're given the right structure. To You'll hear it off and on, and it can't be overstated. A organization takes on a reflection of the people who are running the organization. And if you are the type of leader that gets pressured and stressed, loses their mind during busy times, and when things go wrong, everybody in the organization is going to feel that, reflect it, or not be there. And in turn, if you are a patient leader that will take in stride when things go wrong and work to correct things so they don't go wrong again, and people understand that it is okay to fail. That probably the most important thing, and this is something that happened when I came to Quest, is there was a bit of a culture that nobody wanted to fail, which is fine, but also nobody wanted to throw anybody else under the bus because they were afraid they were going to get someone in trouble. So I can't tell
Okay.
you what went wrong because someone else might suffer from me telling you what went wrong.
Hmm.
And for me, that's just it's almost a dangerous culture at that point because everything's being hidden. and it's being hidden for the right and the wrong reasons at the same time. Your team, they care about each other, so they don't want someone to get in trouble, quote unquote. And it took me a couple of years to get the group to understand, look, you're not going to get in trouble. Do the same thing wrong 5 times in a row, well, we're definitely going to have a discussion. But if you fail, that's fine. Let's take this as an opportunity to figure out why we failed, correct it, move forward. And I would rather you make a decision that's a wrong decision as long as you think it's the best decision for the company and for the customer. That's my guideline to everybody in the organization. Make a decision. I'd rather you make a decision and be wrong than not make a decision and have everybody waiting and let things fail. So if it's wrong, we'll talk about it. But we're going to talk about it just like we're talking right now. I'm not going to scream or anything else. There's no sense in doing that. That's a very antiquated approach to life and business at this point, in my opinion. It's really
Mm-hmm.
about, hey, how do we improve this? So this failed. How do we not fail at that again? So what do we have to do? What are the steps we have to do to make sure that we can be more consistent so we can give people what they want and not fail in the future? So let's let the failure point be somewhere else so we can learn something else in the process. And
So you think
that's
it's more on the on the leadership side than on the team. So a team that delivers more is the team that it's maybe a little more not relaxed, but are not like they think they're not gonna get in trouble if they fail. Like it's an
well,
okay to fail culture, something like that.
absolutely. I think
Okay.
it's there. You hear a lot about, and everybody loves using catchwords and all that, but the emotional security and
Hmm.
that there's a lot to that. People don't like to be dressed down in public. Nobody likes to. You should never do that to people. People don't like to be yelled at. Nobody does. People generally, they don't like two things. They hate failure and they hate change.
Hmm.
Well, change is inevitable. You got to figure out a way to manage through change and get people where they need to be. And because change is inevitable, so is failure. So if people understand the fact that, hey, yeah, that's wrong. We can't do it like that again. Let's make the change. And that doesn't mean that you automatically there's just fiat of forgiveness for everything that goes wrong always. And people mistake that for some reason. It's like, well, you're never going to discipline anybody. No, that's not true. You know, if you made the decision that you thought was best for the company and best for the customer, and I'm going to explain to you why it was the incorrect, and here's what I'd like you to do in the future. But you're consistently making those types of choices that are just plain wrong. We're going to have to go down a disciplinary path. We're going to have to
Yep.
you're going to have to understand why maybe a different career is the right career for you because this one is not. But
Gotcha.
as long as it's done in a constructive way to build people up, that you can get somewhere with it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's awesome. Like, yeah, because I feel some people when they think about like the it's okay to fail culture, they'll just go off the rails and just don't mind at all. But if you have like a path with disciplinary matters and a good leadership that's going to tell you like, hey, man, probably your best path is not here, but it's here. That's super valuable. Now, let's talk a little about failing and doing things wrong and things being chaotic and just um, and this happens a lot in the events world, I think. I'm not in the events world, but I know Ralph, I know a lot of people that are. And I mean, you have big shows, tight timelines, everything has to be perfect. But when it gets chaotic, what's the first thing that breaks?
First thing that breaks is, or the first thing that generally gets proven out is you failed to plan.
Okay.
So a discussion that I've always had, because I've done a lot of project management and I work with my teams and the project management teams and the like. So I've always kind of attach something to something, tell stories about something. And one of those things, so when I was a kid, I used to love to play Hot Wheels. Did you ever do the Hot Wheels tracks when you were growing up?
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Nothing was better in Hot Wheels than having that thing go through and do the loop successfully. That was where you always wanted to be. You
Yeah.
want to get the loop and you want to get the jump at the end.
Yeah.
And so you built your track and you worked on this piece and you worked on that piece. And if you planned everything out and you built the track from the top coming down right and everything was lined up perfectly and you had your plan completely ready to go, when you let that car go, you have zero control.
Hmm.
And that car goes down, goes through the loop and jumps off, or it goes off the rails. One of the two. that's how I look at every show that we do. If you
Hmm.
plan it properly and you've got everything lined up, when you let that show start, everything is going to take care of itself because you've gone through, you've done all your what ifs, you've got everything lined up in a row, and you have plans for when things go sideways. But if you don't do all those pieces, that car's coming off the rails, and there's going to be nothing you can do to save it, and you're just going to be chasing your tail for the rest of the time. And that is a very uncomfortable position to be in. So I'm a huge believer in making sure you've got the plans and the process set up that your plans will, if something goes sideways, here's your next logical point to try and bring things back.
Gotcha. So it's more like being proactive, not reactive. Like
Yeah,
always having a plan for
if
something.
you're in a reactive position on a live show, you're in deep trouble.
Gotcha.
And that includes for emergencies. If you haven't planned properly and for a live event, and you haven't planned the emergencies, you haven't planned failures, you haven't planned all the pieces, yeah, you're in trouble.
Yeah, definitely. And now talking about doing things well. Uh, since you've been in several industries, what's like the common thread you keep seeing in companies that actually grow?
You know, I have a big belief, and this is in every industry that I've ever said, and I'll equate this to I live in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a very transient community, and so it's really hard to find a few different things for living life. Like if you're able to afford a landscaper, or you need a handyman, or anything like that. Um, if you as a person and as a company come do what you say and say what you do. I'm coming to you and I'm saying I'm going to do this and I deliver. You can own the world. And that's true for every, whether you're a landscaper, whether you're a handyman, whether you're in the live events business. If here's what I'm going to do for you, customer, and I'm going to come through with that. You don't have to chase me down. You don't have to call me. You don't have to find out. You don't have to ask all the questions because I've already given you all the answers you could possibly need. I'm going to do what I said I was going to do, and I'm going to do it well. If you can just do that, you can own the world.
Like
That's what
under
every
promising
successful
and
company
over
does.
delivering.
Or just doing what you promise. You don't even have to under promise and over deliver. Well, that's always good and it
Yeah.
always impresses your client. Just do what you promised you were going to do and do it for a fair price and it's everything's naturally going to take care of itself.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, I want to talk a little about leadership because this podcast is all about empowering the younger generation. And most of the people listening right now are probably going to handle issues, are going to see things going sideways, are going to build teams. They're going to, the work. So,
Mhm.
like, what does real leadership look when things go sideways, for example, on a big show?
Real leadership is patient. Real leadership assesses a situation and looks for the best solution and hopefully has planned for that situation already. There's always going to be something comes up that you didn't expect. But real leadership does not stress the people around them because something went sideways. You know, losing your mind and having a bunch of people that you're working with see you lose your mind does absolutely nothing for anybody in the room. It's not going to correct anything any faster. People often say, and you'll see this for emergencies. If paramedics are coming to a scene,
Hmm.
paramedics walk to the scene, and everybody's like, this is life and death. How could you walk to the scene? That makes no sense. You should be running. Paramedics know if they run there, there's the possibility that they're going to trip, hurt themselves, and not be able to take care of the person who's really, really in trouble. You have to go at every problem, every extreme emergency as calmly and collectedly as you can, because you're never going to make good decisions and do proper things if you're not in control of your emotions and being as thoughtful as you can about what's going on around you and the people around you. If you're calm and you show that you're calm and you think things through and you talk to your team will remain more calm. They're not always going to be as calm as you are because there's the stresses of
Yeah.
things going on or inexperience with things going wrong. All of these different things happen. But the more you can be calm the more you'll affect the people around you with that same calmness, and you're going to correct the situation much, much faster than you would if people are yelling and screaming and trying to figure out what's going on.
It's like trying to transmit what you want them to feel. Like calm, we'll figure it out. Not just like a hectic situation, just running around screaming,
Yeah.
that sort of
So
thing.
there's a statement: begin with the end in mind. It's one of those things that I've always
Hmm.
kind of lived with. It's from Seven Habits of Highly Successful People. Begin with the end in mind. Well, what
Nice.
is the end thing that I want to accomplish? Well, I want to fix the problem. I want I want to fix the problem, and I want people to be satisfied that the problem was fixed. They don't have to be happy the problem happened, but they have to be okay with
Hmm.
how it was fixed and that it was fixed. Well, if I begin with that end in mind, yelling and screaming and throwing things around is not going to do anybody any good whatsoever. Makes no
Yep,
sense.
I completely agree. Completely agree. And now, one big part of leadership, I think, is choosing the right people to be able to accomplish the goals you have. So, what do you take into account when building a team? How do you usually build a team that doesn't fall apart under like that kind of pressure, you know?
So when building a team, I'm looking for, frankly, diversity of thought and action. I need people that are really good at a lot of different things because the teams that I build are teams that can complement where I'm weak. I know that there are certain things I'm not very good at. I'm not a dot the I and cross every T kind of guy. I need somebody on my team to be worried about dotting I's and crossing T's because I'm a get there from A to B kind of guy, and I'm going to push people
Hmm.
forward to that. So I want a team that is not 20 people that are like me, because 20 people that are like me are not going to cross all the I's, dot all the T's. They're going to miss things, and they're going to be put so far pushing forward that they're going to step on something in the process on their way there. So it does me no good to have 20 of me. It does much better for me to have a well-balanced team that all complement each other and all have their own talents. And there is no perfect person out there that can do everything for everyone. But the one thing that I try to make sure I'm picking when I'm picking a team are people that are, as much as possible, okay with change,
Hmm.
because I think that's the one constant in the universe, and people that are willing to try almost no matter what. They're part of believing in a failure philosophy where it's okay to fail. Are You need people with tenacity that want to keep going even when they fail, that will try and that they will look at things in different ways. I had a person that I worked with a couple of years ago, and this person had no ability to understand the fact that I'm okay with people failing.
Hmm.
When I told him that, I said, look, we're going to do this. I know you disagree with it, and it might fail. Matter of fact, it might fail spectacularly, and I'm okay with that. When I said that, he looked at me like I had three eyes. It's completely beyond him the ability to go, okay, it's okay to fail, and he's the type of person who wanted everything lined up perfectly, checked by every expert in the world, and this has to work. And it took him 12 months to make a decision, and if that decision was wrong at the end of 12 months, he's wasted 12 months plus got it
Yeah,
wrong. I'd much rather waste a week and find out that I got it wrong, or wait 3 months and find out that I got it wrong and make my changes from there. So
gotcha.
people
So
with
it's
the
like,
ability to make those changes and the flexibility in their personality enough to be able to handle that, that's one of the things I'm definitely looking for in a
and
team.
also, and what I'm hearing is also people that execute because you don't want to take 12 months to do something. You want to try it
No,
on the first day, first 2 days, and then figure it out, right?
yeah,
I don't know. That's how
get
I feel
get
about
it
things.
done. Get it
Yeah.
done. And when you get it done, you can find out, okay, well, it didn't work as well as I thought it would. Let's try this instead.
Yeah.
That flexibility is huge.
We've had several guests in the podcast that talk about how hard the talent market is now. Like that there's sort of a problem in the industry right now for good people coming up. Do you think there's a gap, something like that, or you don't believe in that?
Oh, I believe in it wholeheartedly. Unfortunately, it takes longer to find the good people.
Hmm.
There are tools. I use a tool that's one of those personality type quizzes. It's disc related,
Yeah.
and it looks at just the traits of what someone is generally like to give me a guideline of, okay, for the position I'm filling, is this somebody I even need to talk to? And then the trick of getting people to actually show up and show up to an interview and then show up. We've hired people and they just don't even bother showing up for the first day of the job. Don't tell you, they just ghost you completely. The talent level and the willingness to work, it's there. There's a gap in there. It seems to be getting better. I don't know if it's a generation or a half of a generation
Hmm.
that I don't know if COVID broke them or what, but the bit of a younger crowd is starting to get a little bit more responsible, a little bit more um, you can depend on them showing up a little bit more. So the group that was completely flaking out, I don't know if they're starting to get better at doing it or they're just getting older and I'm not seeing them anymore or what. But it just amazes me. You look at the labor participation rate in the country and how over 40% of the people who are eligible to work aren't. I
Yeah.
don't know what these people are doing. And I don't know, as a parent, my kids are out. They're out of the house. They're grown. They're out of the house. They're not sitting in my basement. And if they were, I'd kick them out. So I,
Yeah.
I don't know why all these people are able to not work. It just kind of exists. Hey, it's a life choice. If that's what you want to do, so be it. But I've got to find people who actually want to work, who want to be a part of it. And that is one of the reasons why it's so important to make sure when you find those people, you make sure you've created a business and an environment that they don't want to leave. Because,
Yeah.
the average person, if you're hiring, let's say you're hiring somebody at $50,000 a year, which is
Yeah.
kind of a low salary these days, but let's say you're
Hmm.
hiring somebody at $50,000 a year, it costs you about $125,000 to hire them, find them, train them, and get them ready to go. And I just don't want to keep investing that money into finding new people.
Of
I want to
course.
find the right person, and I don't want them to ever want to go anywhere. It's going to cost me a little more in the long run, a lot of the times, but it doesn't always just cost me in their salary. It costs me in making sure that I'm building an environment where people want to be.
And you, that money that you invest in finding new people, if you find the correct person and you invest in them, then the ROI on that is going to be
It's through
huge.
the roof. It's through the roof.
Exactly. So I agree with that. Now I wanna go a little more on the um, event business nowadays.
Hmm.
Everything, it used to be just about showing up, setting up. That's it. That's the plan. But now what I'm seeing is that customers expect like a whole experience. With the whole, not just transactional. So where do you see that line moving nowadays? Like
Um,
transactional versus experience.
yeah, I think transactional is a thing of the past. I think commoditization, hopefully, is a thing of the past.
Hmm.
Um, People, because we are where we are as a society, there's a lot more expendable money. There's a lot more instant gratification. There's a lot more dopamine hits just sitting in Instagram.
Yeah.
If you're not able to trigger some of those same responses in the events that you're doing, you're going to fall by the wayside quickly. And it needs to be, and not everything needs to be, oh, this is the newest latest thing, we've got the best AI, we've got this, that, another thing. It needs to be a event where people feel like they matter in the event, and people feel like they're learning and they're getting a valuable takeaway from it. Experience is a huge part of that, but it's not the only part of that. There's a reason why you're hearing so much about community and belonging these days, because somewhere we've lost our sense of community and belonging, or we've forgotten to define what that actually means. And so the more you can help create a community and an interdependence of people and people actually wanting to talk to each other and enjoying each other's time. It's one of the reasons why trade shows are still so successful, and face-to-face live events are still so successful, is because humans crave human-to-human interaction. And as long as you're facilitating that and helping it happen and greasing the wheel a little bit, making it a little bit easier for people to talk to each other. We have an entire generation of people who don't want to pick up a phone. We have an entire generation of people who are used to talking to each other in the same room via text. And unless you can break down those walls over time, you're going to start to see less and less people going out to these events and doing these things. So the experience becomes that much more important. And it's made it very tricky for a lot of people who don't want to think of what the next thing is. How do we build the next? How do we grow the next? How do we get people excited about going to something that, well, maybe they weren't excited about in the past? And then it isn't always having the big stars. It isn't always having it. It's really giving people a reason to want to be a part and and
Yeah.
and, and expanding that community.
Love it. Love it. Now, getting to the towards the end of the show, I wanna ask a little about what's coming, looking ahead, looking at the next couple of years. What shifts are coming in the events and in the event rental world that most people aren't paying attention to yet or they haven't noticed?
Well, the shift really is a lot. It's the one interesting part about events is it always reflects the society, and we don't even know yet the impact AI is going to have on events
Yeah.
and the interactive, whether it's virtual experiences, augmented experiences, personalized experiences, things that will really immerse you into an event. Immersive events, they're not well defined yet.
Hmm.
And I've taken part in some things that I found truly immersive, but they're immersive in the level that they haven't been able to figure out how to do it at scale.
Okay.
There was a show here in Las Vegas recently, and it's unfortunately closed. It was called the Disco Show.
Hmm.
And you started out this show, and you're there expecting your standard stage show and whatever, and you end up walking into this room, and you're in a giant discotheque. There are no chairs, there are no seats. You're standing on a disco floor. And then these guys come out and the show starts happening with you, around you, and you're a part of it.
Nice.
And that's the level of immersion that we're going to have to start to get people really, really excited about doing something. And that type of immersion takes thought. It takes a whole lot of creativity. And, there's a little bit of investment that has to happen with it as well to figure out, okay, how do I get these people this involved? And
Hmm.
I think we're going to see a lot of stop start in that world where things are going to come out and people are going, wow, that was really, really cool. I don't want to do it again necessarily, but that one time was really, really cool. To, okay, now this is the type of thing that I want to do over and over. And man, I was in
Yeah.
it the whole time. I felt like I was a part of it. That really touched me on a lot of different levels. And so I think that's where events will end up going to in the next 10 years or so,
Hmm.
as all of these different advancements in technology are able to come together to streamline and personalize people's event experience. And I just don't think we've touched the tip of the iceberg yet.
So immersiveness, new tools, love it. Now, what would you tell someone who's 25 and is just getting into this industry right now?
Whatever people tell you the industry was in the past, it's not.
Okay.
It's not anymore. It's changing rapidly. Uh, Embrace it. Try not to fall into the traps of how it used to be done. And we all know it's like, well, that's how we've always done it. Those are the worst
Yeah.
words in the English language. It just
Love it.
it should never happen that way. So be ready for people to challenge you, because not everybody with this much gray is willing to go, hey, let's give it a shot. You know,
Yeah.
and really, it's have fun and embrace it. It's like no other industry you'll ever be a part of. The trade show space I've always found fascinating, because you walk into this, and this is true on concerts and everything else. You walk into this big building or this big stadium or this big wherever, a giant open field one day, and it's just empty. And then all of these trucks come in and all of this stuff gets built, and you have a town. You have an
Yeah.
entire city. You have a city CES show, for example. You have a city that has more bandwidth than your average mid-sized city as far
Yeah.
as technology going on. And then the show happens, and then it all just goes away, and you're back to that empty field. Done properly, you can't even tell that it ever happened.
Awesome.
And there's really nothing more fascinating than being in an industry where you're never going to do the same thing twice, and you're not going to be sitting on the other side of a bank teller and handing cash out or what. You're always going to be challenged, and you can have a whole lot of fun and process. And this is the type of industry that's big and small all at the same time. You're going to make lifelong friends. Don't burn any bridges in the process, because everybody you meet today, if you're still in the industry 20 years from now, you're still working with them. So keep that in mind as you're making your decisions and who you talk to and how you deal with them, because it's that small of an industry as well as being a large industry.
I love it. I love it, Ross. So this is the last part of the show. This is what we call the lightning round.
Mm-hmm.
Is quick questions, quick answers. Sounds good? You ready?
Sure.
Awesome. Last song you had playing at work.
Chris Stapleton, Traveler.
Nice. What show are you watching right now? Anything you're binge watching?
The Pit.
Good show. Chick-fil-A, Taco Bell, or Mackie D's? What's your order?
If I got a choose between those three, I'm going to Chick-fil-A, getting a spicy chicken sandwich.
Nice. Favorite rental or event tool, workflow, or hack trick that you swear by?
You know, I was just talking about all this AI and everything. I hate to go back to it, but Excel, Excel and a checklist. It's not a hack. It's just a tool. It's make a checklist, build the checklist, make sure you know what you need to get done and get it done. There is no hack per se. In some people's world, that is a hack, but it's just have that list, get it done. Use
Yep.
Excel. It works great.
Awesome. Awesome trick. Old school. Who do you challenge as our next guest in the Fresh Rental podcast?
I think you could have a lot of fun with the founder of Quest. His name's Lee Dunlap,
Okay.
and he started this company uh, 29 years ago, roundabout, out of his garage in Arlington, Texas. And now we
Nice.
got 22 locations around the country. It's a great story. Two, he's a great interview and a good perspective.
Okay. I'll definitely reach out, Ross. So, man, this was a great conversation. I really appreciate you keeping it real. This is the kind of experience, the kind of experience that you bring is exactly what the next generation and the people listening to this podcast need to hear. And, this is what the Fresh Rental is all about. And thanks for being here, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Awesome, Russ. Thank you so, so much.
Thanks.